Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready to get your fix? With the Wicks here on this beautiful Wednesday, December 8th, 2021, and welcome to the show, whether that be on Facebook or on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It would be much, much appreciated. So not too long ago, we were almost in jeopardy of actually doing this show tonight. You know, sitting here preparing for the show. Right after I got off of work, and all of a sudden you just hear a big fucking boom, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? You know, just kind of looking around, and we lost power for a good, I'd say, half hour, 45 minutes, somewhere around that range. And I really wasn't sure if we were going to be able to do the show. I wasn't sure if they were going to get the power back on in time and stuff like that. So I cranked out my power rankings while that was, obviously happening. Then we got the fucking power back on. Hip, hip, hooray! Basically, for the show today. But we got a couple things to dive into, especially we got to talk about last night's Man in the Arena, episode 4. We got to dive into that a little bit. We got some Chicago Bears news. We got some Green Bay Packer news. That might be really, really good news for some of you fans out there. And also, we got to talk about Seattle and what's going on with their organization and a certain player over there. And then we'll dive into, my Week 14 power rankings going from 1 to 6. The reason it's 1 to 6, not 1 through 5, is because when I make them, I'm able to fit 6 on a graphic or whatever, and I go from there. So 6 on each graphic. So that's why it's 1 through 6. So we'll kind of look at that a little bit later as well. And then we got to talk about tomorrow's game. Tomorrow's Thursday night matchup where the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to take on the Minnesota Vikings in a game in which I will be attending. Yes, I will be there. Boots on the ground in Minneapolis, US Bank Stadium. I will be there for front row seat, basically, because it's not on a television or something like that. I'm not in fucking the front row right next to the bench or anything like that. But just going there is going to be absolutely electrifying. I've been saying this the whole year. Once I get to a stadium, I'm going to be loud. I'm going to be rowdy. I'm going to have one hell of a time, and I absolutely cannot wait for that tomorrow. It's going to be a long, long night and probably fucking, sleepless night. I doubt it, but I should be able to get some sleep. But right there, that's basically what we're going to be talking about today, where we have to, dive into, quite a bit of things going around in the world of football. So, are you ready to get your fix? So, Man in the Arena, episode 4, took place last night. It was on ESPN Plus. For those of you that missed it, it is still on there. I believe episodes 1 through 4 are all on there at this point in time. You probably can go take a gander at them. They are absolutely electrifying. They're fun to watch. They're very in-depth. And it just makes you love this guy right here just a little bit better, especially if you're a diehard Tom Brady fan like, myself. But last night, episode 4 was fucking amazing. I mean, it was absolutely, jaw-dropping, heartbreaking, fucking, all those things kind of mixed in to one. I mean, we're looking at an episode where the arguably the greatest franchise to ever play the sport, the New England Patriots, 2017 was on a roll, to say the least. Who ends up going undefeated in the regular 16 or in the regular season, going 16-0, wins their first 2 playoff games, going to the Super Bowl against the Giants, who everybody kind of crossed off their list at the beginning of the year, saying there's no fucking way that the Giants
are going to, make the Super Bowl, let alone make the playoffs. Probably going to be last in their division. Not really a team to keep your eye on. And Michael Strahan decides to stick around one more season. And even in the documentary, he said, there was times where I was like, what, do I really want to fucking do this right now? Like, what did I get myself into? And that was after like the first or second loss where they just got absolutely pounded. But he was like, once I really debated, like, what am I doing here? But he said, in my family, we have that mentality where if you start something, you got to finish it and do it to the best of your ability. So he ends up finishing out the season, goes to the Super Bowl out of nowhere. I mean, really, their season kind of flip-flopped right when they went to London. They had a London game. I can't really remember off the top of my head who they were playing during that London game. But they ended up going to London. Things started clicking a little bit better. Now the Giants are on a roll. Okay, young quarterback in Eli Manning. You got, who else was it? Michael Strahan, obviously, on the defense. Those are really their two big players. They obviously had David Tyree. They had Plaxico Burress and those big names like that. But at the time, they weren't really big names. Okay, you're looking at a Patriots team who's coming into this season 16-0, or coming into the postseason 16-0, undefeated, literally steamrolling fucking every opponent they are playing. I mean, it was literally easy for them to go out there and win games. Then they get to the playoffs. The playoffs were a little bit harder, to say the least. They had to play the Jags the first game. That was a tougher one. And then I believe they played the Pittsburgh Steelers, I want to say, if I can remember. I don't think it was the Steelers. But they play another team, obviously, right after that because they have to. It's the AFC Championship game. They end up winning that one, go to the Super Bowl. Now they're playing the Giants, who somehow, I mean, I don't know how this happened. And they beat the fucking, I want to say they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then they beat the Dallas Cowboys. And then they beat the Green Bay Packers to head to the Super Bowl. I can't really remember off the top of my head what Super Bowl that was. I think it was like 32 or somewhere around that, or 42, something like that. It was one of those Super Bowls. But they go to the Super Bowl. And, really, going back before the whole season, that 16-0 season really took place, things were kind of falling in line for New England. Okay, so Randy Moss at this time, he was in this documentary. He was on this 2007 Patriots team. He was an Oakland Raider the season before, the 2006-2007 season. He was an Oakland Raider. And Week 8, he had a bye. And Week 8 just happened to be when the New England Patriots were taking on the Minnesota Vikings in Minneapolis. So Randy Moss decides, fuck it. Takes a private jet all the way over to Minneapolis. Goes to the Patriots hotel. Has a little private meeting with Tom Brady. He's like, what's up? How's it going? Did this whole spiel. Talked to him a little bit. And dapped him up. Did that whole thing. Gave each other a hug. And he's like, I really want to play with you someday. I would really love to play with you. Your work ethic. The way you go about your business. The team. I would really love to play football with you. And next season, literally, so the rest of the season goes on. Patriots miss the playoffs. Oakland Raiders not doing that hot because Randy Moss is not having that great of a year. So New England, Bill Belichick decides, hey, I'm going to talk to Tom Brady because, why wouldn't you want one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever, if not the greatest quarterback to ever play the sport? Why would you not want his opinion? Kind of goes back to what Aaron Rodgers and Brian Gutekunst are kind of going with. Why wouldn't you want your franchise's opinion on what to do, what receivers to keep, and stuff like that? So Bill said, hey, Tom, we're thinking about trading for Randy. What do you think about that? Abso-fucking-lutely. I'd go for it. Trade whatever you got to do. They only had to trade a fucking 4th-round pick to land Randy Moss, number 1 wide receiver to ever play in the NFL, in my opinion. I think he's you put him and Jerry Rice out there, for some reason, I'm going to take Randy Moss 10 times out of 10 times. He's my dude. He obviously played for the Minnesota Vikings, but that man was he was a guy, okay? He was a war daddy, if you will. That's one of the, words you could say instead of, he's a beast or he's a guy or he's a dude. He's a war daddy. This guy goes out there and plays to the best of his ability whenever he can. It was an absolute great signing, an absolute ridiculous signing for New England because, I mean, obviously once they do that signing, the fucking rest of the season's kind of history. Randy Moss breaks the single season touchdown reception record with 23 on the year, and really he wasn't the only one they landed. They landed Wes Welker, who was playing for the Dolphins. They landed something Samuel. It wasn't Asante Samuel. It was something Samuel, a wide receiver that played in Philadelphia for a little while, and they were all at the top of their game. So it was crazy to kind of think that literally they had all the right pieces at the right time, but they fucking blew it. Last night put me through a little bit of a roller coaster of emotions. I'm hyped up. I'm like, yeah, I remember this season, 15, 16-0, go to the playoffs, 17-0, win another one to go to the Super Bowl, 18-0. Now let's go to the Super Bowl. Let's capitalize on this undefeated season, be immortalized for the rest of NFL history, for the rest of mankind. You're going to know this team, the New England Patriots, the 2007 New England Patriots. You're going to recognize, you're going to remember that name. Well, today we remember that name, or remember that season, remember that team, not for an undefeated season, but because they had a season that ended with one loss. It just happened to be the Super Bowl, where the New York Giants found some fucking way possible to beat the New England Patriots. And the one little clip that I seen in there that it gave me flashbacks right away was when, so basically, a bunch of press conferences were happening before the Super Bowl. They asked Plaxico Burress, I think, a question. They said, what do you think the final score is going to be? And he said, 20-something to 17. And Tom Brady was like, 17 points? Oh, okay, whatever. Sounds good. If he thinks that's all we're going to get, because 17 points is nothing for us to kind of score on, or nothing for us to really do. We can score over 17 points. That's no big deal. I wish he would have gave us a little bit more credit, maybe make the score 24-20, but it is what it is. Kind of laughed it off, and I was like, oh, I remember that. I remember that to a T. That was awesome, because even back in the back of my head, I was like, good luck. Like, you are not going to hold these guys to 17 points. They ultimately do, beating the New England Patriots, the undefeated, the miracle season, 18-0, now 18-1. They beat the New England Patriots 17-14 in that Super Bowl, where I cried like a little bitch. I dropped to my knees. I was in pain that night. That was a tough one. Just kind of makes me wonder how I'm going to be if the Vikes get there and fucking lose, because that will be heartbreaking to say the least. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We're still dreaming for a championship over here. And after they lost that Super Bowl, really, they were all in a daze. They asked Tom, and Tom's like, yeah. He's like, I was kind of just like spaced out. Like, I didn't know what happened. I went back to my hotel, didn't get any sleep, but 30 minutes maybe. Just being awake, and I was thinking, I'm like, come on, this is a dream. Like, there's no way we just lost the Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. Like, wake up, wake up. They actually lost the Super Bowl, and they asked Randy Moss kind of a similar question. He's like, honestly, man, I don't remember anything really, besides like, I remember them. We throw the ball, it's incomplete or whatever, and kind of watch them celebrate, go to the locker room, and everything's kind of a blur after that. And me fucking too, man. Like, literally the last thing I remember was dropping to my knees, just crying. Like, well, how did this just happen? I think for the next couple of days it was pretty rough. Like, damn, the New England Patriots just lost. I'm gonna go get shit in school, blah blah. But it was a very, very good episode last night. Basically going through the first Super Bowl loss of Tom Brady's career. He was 3-0 before then. Now he's 3-1 in the Super Bowl. So I'm really looking forward to next week's episode 5, Man in the Arena. That'll be absolutely awesome. I think just like all these other ones have been up to this point. So I'm really looking forward to watching that next Tuesday as well. So now let's shift gears over to the Chicago Bears. There's a little bit of news kind of circulating around the NFL. It's really not news, but it's an update. The last couple weeks, we've got to watch Andy Dalton get the start because Justin Fields had a little bit of a rib injury. Well, this week, or today, Justin fucking Fields has been medically cleared for his rib injury, And Matt Nagy came out and stated that Justin Fields will be the Chicago Bears starter this Sunday night against the Green Bay Packers. This is very, very good news for Chicago Bears fans, and I think for Matt Nagy, because if he continues to roll with Andy Dalton, I just don't think he's going to be able to keep his job. And this is going to be really interesting to see kind of how the team looks and moves and does their thing, basically. Is how I'm trying to say this, because the last couple of weeks we got to see Andy Dalton be the starter. They were putting up points. They're looking smooth together. But it seemed like a similar situation where Justin Fields was also, when he was the starting quarterback not too long ago before he got injured, where the team kind of looked like they were really buying into the Justin Fields aura. They're really buying into what he is bringing to the team. And the team was looking really, really solid for the most part. And they looked just fine, too, with Andy Dalton as well. But I just think with Justin Fields coming to start against a division rival, the Green Bay Packers, it's going to be real interesting to see how the Chicago Bears kind of go about their business, what they do differently, if they run the ball more, if Justin Fields is able to pass, if he's going to be wearing a flat jacket. I'd assume he's going to be wearing a flat jacket coming off that rib injury. And just really, what does this Chicago Bears team look with Justin Fields under the helm? I think we've already got a look once this year. Let's get another look and see if see if they missed the beat, so to say. So it's going to be very interesting. But Justin Fields is getting that start this Sunday after being medically cleared for his rib injury. Another team, the Green Bay Packers, who are also playing the Chicago Bears, like we just talked about on Sunday Night Football, they have come out with a little bit of news themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, this is probably big, big news if you're a Green Bay Packers fan. Look, for the first time since Week 4, he suffered a shoulder injury. Jareer Alexander has been activated and can practice, is finally practicing with the Green Bay Packers. He did suffer that shoulder injury like we just talked about in Week 4. Now they do have 21 days, so 3 weeks basically, to put him on the active roster. I would assume and expect them to make this move, obviously being their number one corner. Obviously, you got Eric Stokes, who's playing really good. You got Rasul Douglas, who's playing phenomenal football for them. But you add Jareer Alexander back in the mix, and Green Bay is going to be a very, very hard team to beat through the air. I honestly do believe that. But this is big, big news for Green Bay Packer fans, because I think they need this. And I mean, it's at the perfect point in the season. You're almost to the playoffs. This is Week 14 we're looking at. This is going to be, a big, big step forward for the Green Bay Packers in having Jareer Alexander back in the mix of things. Because, like I said, it's going to be a lot harder for opposing teams to really have that passing attack, that air attack, and really be able to move the ball downfield. So that's a big, big piece of updated information for Green Bay fans. For Jareer, he is officially back at practice. He's been cleared. Now he has 21 days to really be established and put back on the active roster. So expect Jareer Alexander within the next couple weeks. So another guy around the league actually suffered a season-ending shoulder injury. He's torn his labrum and had an additional damage. Folks, the Seattle Seahawks safety Jamal Adams is done for this season. This is a huge blow for Seattle, because the last couple weeks, I think we can all kind of agree that their defense was really keeping them in a lot of games, even though they came out on the losing side of a couple of them. Last week, they got a huge win against the San Francisco 49ers. But the energy, the aura, the hype that Jamal Adams brings to that defense is just next level. And without him, it's going to be very, very tough for Seattle to kind of get that momentum back on their side, I feel like, unless they got a good safety in the back, or in the depth chart, number 2 safety, you know what I'm saying? But Jamal Adams is a huge piece of that defense, and Seattle really needs him in a big way. Okay, look, they're 4-8 right now to start the season. 4-8. They're going to have their 13th game this week. They need to keep winning. They got to stay away from that losing season. They're only one loss away from that losing season. So it'll be very, very interesting how this team really pans out without Jamal Adams. I don't think their season is savable at this point. I don't see them making the playoffs at this point, especially with losing Jamal Adams. I mean, he's a sack artist. He's a blitz artist. He's a coverage artist. I mean, this man can do it all, and he is just a hype man for Seattle. I mean, we've seen it. Every time he makes a play, he gets something. He's like, you like that? What's up? Come get some. And it's like, okay. It's going to be hard to kind of replace that, but well, they'll figure it out, I hope, for the most part. But that is some big, big news. Now, this shoulder injury is actually the same shoulder that he had injured not too long ago. I believe it was last year or the year before that. So that is a little worrisome, at least for like a little bit, because if it's the same shoulder, he's going to have that injury or he's going to have problems with that, I feel like, going forward throughout his career. And hopefully it doesn't affect him too much, especially with just how physical he is, how aggressive he is, and just the hype that he brings to Seattle in that defense. It's going to be interesting to see how that kind of translates going forward with suffering this torn labrum and additional damage to that shoulder. He should be ready to make a full recovery for the 2022 season. So a little bit of bad information there for Seahawks fans, for the Seattle Seahawks organization. But hey, it is what it is. It's how the cookie crumbles. You just got to keep trucking along, and there's going to be obstacles put in front of you. You just got to figure a way around that obstacle or over that obstacle, and you'll be just fine. Seattle's struggling, to say the least, and I think they were just about to figure it out, to be honest with you. And it's a bummer. It's a big hit, but they'll continue to do the best they can. Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, Adrian Peterson, DK Metcalf, all those guys will continue to do the best they can to try and get some more wins on the season. Now let's transition over to my Week 14 power rankings. Like I said earlier in the show, this is going to be 1 through 6 that I have here listed for you guys. The rest of the power rankings I will release tomorrow morning. So if you're watching the show at this point in time, you guys kind of get a little sneak peek. You guys get the first look-see at the 1 through 6 Week 14 power rankings that I have come up with by myself. So here are the Week 14 power rankings that I have decided. Now, I do this completely by myself. I don't have any help. I don't look at any other power ranking lists. I basically just go at this list and say, look, who are the better teams in the NFL? Who's the best team in the NFL? And then week by week, I kind of, evaluate what just happened, the win or the loss of previous Sunday or previous Monday game or whatever it is, and then kind of move them accordingly. Okay, like for instance, we got here the Green Bay Packers. I have number 1. The Arizona Cardinals. I have number 2. A lot of power rankings actually have the Arizona Cardinals at number 1 because they are 10-2 on the season. Green Bay had a bye last week. They're 9-3 on the season. For some reason, in the back of my mind, you put those two against each other like we did earlier in the year, and like I noted earlier in the year, look, if Green Bay plays Arizona and Arizona's undefeated, Green Bay is going to give them the first loss of their season. That's just what I said, and it fucking happened. All right, so, I mean, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I mean, I did get that right. So that is a big reason why I still have Green Bay a number 1. I have moved Green Bay to number 2 and Arizona number 1 every once in a while, but the last couple weeks I've had to keep Green Bay there at number 1 because I think this is the team to beat in the NFL currently. With Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, if he's healthy, even though he's not 100% healthy, he's still slinging the ball. He's still getting wins. He's still not throwing interceptions. This dude is a baller. The Green Bay Packers are a baller, or is a balling team, I guess. I don't know how I want to say that. That just sounds weird rolling off the tongue. But you get what I'm trying to say. Look, they can run the ball. They can pass the ball. They can stop the run to an extent. They can stop the pass the last couple weeks to an extent. That defense, if they play just a little bit harder, even though they've been playing out of their mind the last couple weeks, I mean, that's going to be one hell of a team to beat come playoffs, come Super Bowl, if they make the Super Bowl. Honest to God. I mean, that's why I have Green Bay number 1, Arizona number 2. I just think, I mean, obviously the 10-2 record Tampa Bay is right there at number 3, and I can't put them above either Green Bay or Arizona just because Tom Brady throws those interceptions. You never know if they're going to win or if they're going to lose. They just beat the Atlanta Falcons 30-17 the other day, but I just don't see them beating the Cardinals or beating the Arizona Cardinals or the Green Bay Packers at this point right now, so that's why I had to keep them number 3. And you see at number 4, I have the New England Patriots. They were number 5 for me last week. I believe Baltimore Ravens were number 4 last week as well, but I had to move Baltimore down because they lost 19-20 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The New England Patriots just beat the fucking Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football yesterday or 2 days ago, so I had to move them up a notch. So New England's, I mean, they're a very, very good football team. Excuse me. And we talked about it yesterday on True Identity Tuesday, where the true identity is Bill Belichick. You have to stop Bill Belichick. He's not playing. He's not going to get injured. The only thing that can possibly happen is he get COVID, and then he's out for a game. That's literally the only thing that can happen without him on the field, or that can happen if he's not on the field. Or like you know what I'm trying to say, hopefully. But that's why I had to put New England at number 4. We got Baltimore at number 5. We talked about it. They lost the Pittsburgh Steelers 19-20. They're still a really, really good football team, still in the playoff race at the moment. So they're number 1 in their division as well. I had to keep them at number 5 or move them down one notch, number 5, just basically off that Pittsburgh Steelers loss. And then we got at number 6, the Kansas City Chiefs. They were here last week. I think they were here the week before that as well. They are starting to pick up steam, but I couldn't move them up one notch. I couldn't move them back because obviously I couldn't move them back because they beat the Denver Broncos 22-9. But I couldn't move them forward. And the reason I couldn't move them forward is basically because this team doesn't look like it's improving, if you kind of catch my drift. Their offense, it's real hit or miss. Travis Kelce really had, I mean, we can go back here and kind of look at this graphic. Travis Kelce only had 27 yards receiving on 3 carries, or on 3 catches. And then their running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, had 14 carries, 54 yards, 3 receptions for 28 yards. Patrick Mahomes only had 184 passing. So I really couldn't move them up any at all. Just basically because I don't see them improving. That defense is improving and playing really, really well as of late. So that's why I got Kansas City at number 6. So there you have it, my Week 14 power rankings, number 1 through 6. The rest of them, like I said earlier, will be released tomorrow morning before noon. I'm hoping. Probably as soon as I wake up, I'll get them out and ready for you guys to kind of look at. They're all already, the graphics made, the pictures ready to rock and roll, so you guys can see that tomorrow afternoon. 7 through 32 will be up, as well as 1 through 6 also. But if you're watching the show, I mean, hey, you've seen them here. You've seen them first. No one else really gets to know. But those are my Week 14 power rankings. So finally, let's get to tomorrow's game, Thursday night matchup, the Thursday night football matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are currently 6-5-1 on the season. The Minnesota Vikings are 5-7. Pittsburgh being 3rd in the AFC North, Minnesota being 2nd in the NFC North. Got to make up some ground. All right, we're in the playoff hunt, Minnesota. We're in the playoff hunt. I mean, we're right fucking there. So we got to win this game. This is a must-win game for Minnesota. If we lose this game, it's going to be tough to bounce back because after this week, we got the Bears, then we got the Rams, then we got the Packers, and then we finish the year off with the Bears. So it's going to be a very, very tough one from here on out. If we're going to start winning games, we need to start right here, right now. We got to win the next 3 weeks, or at least the next 2. We got to win Steelers. We got to win the Bears. But for this game, for the Vikings, Adam Thielen is out. He's dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury that he suffered last week in an unfortunate series of events pretty much early on in the game against the Detroit Lions. So he will be out. Dalvin Cook is actually listed as questionable. I wouldn't assume that he's going to play tomorrow. I would kind of keep your eye on the radar a little bit of what's going to actually happen with Dalvin. I feel like they might give him a week's rest, or another week's rest, being that we play on Thursday night, so we play tomorrow night, obviously, and then next week we play Monday Night Football against the Chicago Bears. So do you let him sit for those extra, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 10, 11 days. Like, I think that is a very real scenario that might happen. So expect Dalvin Cook to probably be out again for this game instead of questionable. And Alexander Madison's going to be, just fine. He's been able to really step up nicely when Dalvin Cook has been out in the past. So I'm okay with that. But like I said, this is a must-win game for Minnesota. We need to start winning now, and we got to do it in some pretty decent fashion. I'm so sick of these fucking one-possession games. I mean, 11 of our 12 fucking games have been one possession. I think enough is enough, and I think it starts this week where we take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, who look like they are struggling for the most part. So that'll be a fun one. For the Steelers part, we're going to see a lot of Najee. Okay, he's going to get 20-plus carries like every week. Every time we talk about Pittsburgh, it's, hey, look, they're going to give the ball to Najee 20-plus times a game. They're going to look okay through the pass game or with the pass game. Probably look a lot better if fucking Cam Dancer's out there playing, giving the quarterback or giving the wide receiver fucking 30 yards of cushion. I mean, come the fuck on. Aren't you a goddamn fucking defensive head coach, Mike Zimmer? Like, geez Louise, can we just get this guy to play some actual decent fucking football? Because if not, I mean, this fucking game is going to be one hell of a game for Pittsburgh through the pass. We have to figure it out. I'm glad Patrick Peterson's going to be back in the mix. Hopefully Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr are back in the mix as well, because this is going to be a fun one. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than it's probably going to go right down to the wire, like the last fucking 11 to 12 games. So expect it a one-possession game. Expect Greg Joseph to have to go out there and kick a miracle kick, something stupid. But I'm pumped up for this game. I really am. I get to go to this one. Like I said, I'm going to be rowdy. I'm going to be rocking and rolling. I'm going to be pumped up, ready to watch some football in person. I can't wait to get back to the stadium. I'm going to have a few cold ones. Get a little messed up. Not too messed up, because we've seen those videos of the fucking, people get knocked out in the stadiums and stands and stuff like that. Not going to happen. Not going to do that. I will get a little tuned up, though. A little bit. Have a couple cold ones for that game. So that's the Thursday Night Football matchup that starts Week 14. The Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to U.S. Bank Stadium to take on the Minnesota Vikings. That is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether that be on Facebook or YouTube. If you're on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. It would be much, much appreciated. Go enjoy the rest of your night. We will not be here tomorrow due to the fact that I will be at the game. But we will be back here on YouTube and Facebook on Fantasy Football Friday with guest hosts, hopefully John or Y4, whatever you want to call him, and Logan Baumgart as well. So that is going to be exciting. We'll see you guys then at 6 p.m. Central. And you just got your fix with the Wicks. Thank you, guys.